This episode of the Young Turks is brought to you by Squarespace. How he might have gotten the idea to target Gabrielle Giffords in the first place. Now look, there's a lot of different ways that you can go with this, and some of his friends say that it was because she was available. She was in that area, she was this congresswoman, and that is entirely possible. That could certainly be among the motivating factors. The other motivating factors could be that this guy was directed, whenever he turned on any media, to target Democrats, right? For example, Sarah Palin's now infamous map of Democrats who should be taken out. Now, she put these people, including, as you can see, Gabrielle Giffords, in the crosshairs. They were targeted. And there she is right on the list. By the way, 18 of them were not reelected, so they were taken out, as a matter of speaking. There were only 2 that were left, and one of them was Gabrielle Giffords. The other person should hire serious security. Now, at the time, she wrote on our Facebook account, "Common sense conservatives and lovers of America, don't retreat, instead reload. Please see my Facebook page." By the way, Jared Loughner reloaded, and that's how he was able to shoot more people. He followed Sarah Palin's advice to a T. He did not retreat. He reloaded. When confronted with this, Sarah Palin pretends to be the victim and says, "Oh my God, what are you talking about? I had nothing to do with it. No. In fact, her spokesperson, Rebecca Mansour, she's a staffer for Sarah PAC, says, "We never, ever intended it to be gun sites." Really? You got a funny way of showing it when you put in gun sites on the map. She claimed, no, those were surveyor symbols, and you see crosshairs like that all the time on maps. Well, if that's true, why does Sarah Palin write in reference to the map, reload, don't retreat? Why does she say as late as this November, just a little over a month ago, that those were bullseyes? Does that sound like she's referring to a surveyor's map? No, she's referring to weaponry. And when you asked about that, Mansour, the person that works for her, says, "It never occurred to us that anybody would consider it violent." Well, then you're profoundly stupid. I might use the R word, but Sarah Palin has banned it. Really? You put gun sights in, you say take them out, reload, it's bullseyes, and then, oh, golly gee willikers, I never could have seen it coming. That people would consider that violent. Of course they would. Look, we're not talking about appealing to regular people. Regular people aren't going to go shoot 20 people in a shopping area. But what they're doing with these psychos is they're using them as hate-seeking missiles. And it's not a coincidence that all of these psychos are going and killing Democrats or liberals, because they have been directed, subtly or not so subtly, throughout all this time to do just that. Now, it's not just Sarah Palin, and it's not just generally. It is specifically directed to Gabrielle Giffords. For example, her opponent, her Tea Party opponent that ran against her in this last election, a guy named Jesse Kelly, took out an ad of upcoming events, and he said, "Get on target for victory in November, help remove Gabrielle Giffords from office, shoot a fully automatic M16 with Jesse Kelly." Now, does that sound like it is not violent? We got target, we got shoot, we got M16s. How overt did he need to be? This is sickening, it is repulsive, and they tell us it is random. But it is not random. It's also happened in Arizona before. In 1997, a woman by the name of Mary Rose Wilcox was targeted. She was shot, and of course it was a conservative. And she told Huffington Post, "I knew at the time that the hate had been caused by a lot of the rhetoric that had gone on. At the trial, the man actually said, 'I shot her because the radio said I should take her out.'" Now, when Sheriff Dupnick talked about how Arizona has become the mecca for this kind of violence and nonsense, they criticize him, of course. But in fact, it's been happening for a long time. In fact, at a town hall event of Gabrielle Giffords, earlier, someone had dropped a loaded gun on the ground. And that wasn't clear enough. They threw a brick through her window, and her campaign office had been targeted. She had been targeted over and over again, and this was not lost on her. She has a quote. She said, quote, the way that she has it depicted, meaning Sarah Palin depicting those targets, including Gabrielle Giffords on it, and this is Giffords' own quote, the way that she has it depicted has the crosshairs of a gun sight over our district. When people do that, they have got to realize there are consequences to that. And Gabrielle Giffords was 100% right. And now there are consequences. And these are the consequences. But they tell us, hey, let's call it even. Well, it's not even. It is. Now, let's go and let's find out. Well, is it all sometimes Democrats, sometimes Republicans? No. Now, whether it's the people that are inciting the violence or the actual result, the people who are committing the violence. When you go to the, in my opinion, it is violence in and violence out. Let's show you the violence in. Here are some of the quotes, and there were dozens of these, and we had to cull them down to these. First, Representative Michelle Bachmann. Here's what she had to say. I want people in Minnesota armed and dangerous on this issue of the energy tax because we need to fight back. Thomas Jefferson told us having a revolution every now and then is a good thing, but golly gee willikers, how could they possibly know that that was going to lead to violence? Here's what Sharon Ingalls said. If this Congress keeps going the way it is, people are really looking toward these Second Amendment remedies, saying, my goodness, what can we do to turn this country around? I'll tell you, the first thing we need to do is to take Harry Reid out. Now, that is the famous Second Amendment remedies comment, but always talking about taking the guys out on the other side. Here's Rush Limbaugh. I tell people, don't kill all the liberals. Leave enough so we can have 2 on every campus, living fossils, so we will never forget what these people stood for. Well, is he not munificent? Is he not generous? Leave 2 liberals, just kill the rest. But gee, I wonder where these hate-seeking missiles got their ideas. Here's Ann Coulter. We need to execute people like John Walker, and that was the guy who was caught initially in the beginning of the Afghanistan war, was an American, in order to physically intimidate liberals by making them realize that they can be killed too. Well, and we realize it because the people who are doing your bidding are out there shooting congressmen, are shooting us, shooting liberals, shooting Democrats nonstop. Here's Newt Gingrich, approving of the way the Tea Party has, quote, become the militant wing of the Republican Party. So he loves that. But then later he will say, oh, how dare people say that this is political and that we incited it. We just told them to be a militant wing and take Second Amendment remedies into their hands and kill almost all of the liberals. But how dare people suggest that? Here's Eric Erickson, a CNN commentator and a well-known conservative blogger. We have become or are becoming enslaved by the government. I dare him to try to come throw me in jail. I dare him to. I'll pull out my wife's shotgun and see how that little ACS twerp likes being scared at the door. They're not going on my property. Grab your guns. That's always the message. Ann Coulter, again, my only regret with Timothy McVeigh is he did not go to the New York Times building, meaning that everyone in the New York Times should have been bombed and killed. Representative Joe Barton, an elected congressman from Texas, put anything in my scope and I will shoot it. That was on a PowerPoint presentation specifically regarding the Obama administration. Gee, I wonder where they got the violent ideas in the first place. Here's Joyce Kaufman. She was briefly the chief of staff for Representative Allen West, an incoming Tea Party congressman from Florida. Quote, I am convinced that the most important thing the Founding Fathers did to ensure me my First Amendment's rights was they gave me a Second Amendment. And if ballots don't work, bullets will. Gee, I wonder where they got the idea. Now, can you find equal and opposite quote from liberals or Democrats? And the answer is, hell no you can't. There are no Democrats or liberals talking about killing all the Republicans, talking about how we should resort to bullets, Second Amendment remedies, etc. This false equivalency on this issue is repulsive. No, it is blind to the truth. The truth is that these leading conservatives in the country have been instigating this violence, inciting this violence over and over again. And the minute it happens and there's blood on the ground, they walk away going, oh, nobody could have seen it coming. Oh, no, not us. We had nothing to do with it. Well, let's look about that was the violence in. Let's look at the violence out. What were the results? Perhaps somehow it turned out that conservatives were shot at. Well, that didn't happen. It was always conservatives doing the shooting. And remember, by the way, it's not a coincidence as far as the violence coming from one party either, in the sense that they're the ones who say, grab your guns. They're the ones that say violence is the answer. War is the answer. Now to turn around and pretend that liberals are as much into violence or those kind of remedies, well, it just flies in the face of absolute reality. But the media will go along, I'm telling you this now, because they will, and I will show it to you in a second, I will prove it to you. They want to call it even. They're desperate to call it even. It's not even. Look at the results. So, July 27th, 2008. Jim Atkinson shoots and kills 2 people at a progressive church in Knoxville, Tennessee, wounding 2 others. He says that it was that he had read books about how it was the liberals' fault. He wished he could have killed the top liberals, but he didn't have an opportunity, so he went to a church that he found to be a liberal church in the area and shot innocent liberals instead. Interesting. Conservative targeting liberals. April 4th, 2009, neo-Nazi Richard Poplawski shoots and kills 3 police officers responding to a 911 call to his home in Pittsburgh. He tells his friends earlier, Obama is coming for my guns. I heard Obama's coming for my guns, and I'm not going to let them do it. April 25th, 2009, Joshua Cartwright, 28, a member of the Florida National Guard, shoots and kills 2 Okaloosa County Sheriff's deputies. Same exact thing. His wife reports that he said, they're coming for my guns. The government is coming for my guns. I'm not going to let them take it. Instead, he shoots 2 police officers. May 31st, 2009, Scott Roeder shoots and kills Dr. George Tiller, an abortion provider in the foyer of the Reformation Lutheran Church in Wichita, Kansas. And that's another interesting theme, that they like shooting people in church. But they say, oh no, they couldn't have been. It's not like anybody incited them to that. Let me pause here to give you a clip to see if someone incited them or not. Let's go to clip number 8 and see if we can find out who incited people to kill Dr. Tiller.
In the state of Kansas, there is a doctor, George Tiller, who will execute babies for $5,000. Dr. George Tiller, known as Tiller the Baby Killer. Tiller the Baby Killer, as some call him. Dr. George Tiller in Kansas, known as Tiller the Baby Killer. Dr. George Tiller, known as Tiller the Baby Killer. Tiller the Baby Killer. The notorious Tiller the Baby Killer. I wanted George Tiller and Tiller the Baby Killer going, hey, I can make more money killing babies now. Tiller is executing fetuses in his Wichita clinic for $5,000. Tiller performs scores, perhaps thousands, as we've reported. Tiller aborts thousands of babies pretty much for any reason.
Gee, I wonder where they got the idea. I'm sure it was totally random. It's not like they turn on Fox News and we're told who to directly target for their violence. June 10th, 2009, James Von Braun, a convicted felon and hardcore neo-Nazi, walks into the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C., and shoots and kills a security guard. Again, right-wing, anti-government, killing based on race and politics. Again, a conservative. Again, targeting people he viewed to be on the other side. July 13th, 2009, Gilbert Ortez Jr. kills a police deputy in Chambers County, Texas, with an assault rifle. Same motif. They're coming for my guns. I got to kill the police. They told me it's big government. February 18th, 2010, Joseph Stack of Austin, Texas, flies a single-engine plane into an office building containing nearly 200 IRS employees, killing 1 and wounding 13. He had mixed politics, but his main message, as with Loughner, anti-government. The government is the enemy, and I must kill the government. Gee, I wonder where he got that idea. May 20th, 2010, Jerry Kane Jr., 45, and his son Joseph Kane, 16, fatally shoot 2 Arkansas police officers with an AK-47 assault rifle during a routine traffic stop on Interstate 40 in West Memphis. They were going to kill liberals, but they got into, well, I should say, again, the same idea of, watch out, son, they're coming for our guns. As soon as we run into the police, we're going to give it to them 1 bullet at a time. That was, by the way, almost exactly what Lars Larson, a conservative talk show host, said on air, approvingly reading an email by one of his listeners, if the government comes for me, I'm going to give him my weapons 1 bullet at a time. And you see that list every single time we have these conservative nut jobs giving the cops their weapons 1 bullet at a time. Now, July 18th, 2010, California Highway Patrol officers arrest Byron Williams, 45, after a shootout on I-580 in which more than 60 rounds were fired. Where was he going? He was going to the ACLU and the Tides Foundation because Glenn Beck told him that that is where the liberals were conspiring to control the government and to control the country. And he had to take out those liberals because Beck told him to do it. He told him that it was the cancer. He says, oh, Beck sometimes says not to do violence, but I know he's winking and nodding because he tells me where the target is. And luckily, no one died in that immense shootout. If he had actually gotten to the Tides Foundation, God knows how many would have been murdered. Now, January 8th, 2011, Jared Loughner, 22, shoots U.S. Representative Gabrielle Giffords and 19 others at a Congress in Your Corner event at a Safeway supermarket in Tucson. He kills 6, including federal judge John Roll, and wounds 14, including Giffords, who was shot in the head. But I'm sure that it was all a coincidence that all of these people were anti-government, conservatives, who were out to kill either liberals or the government officials or cops, people that they viewed to be on the side of big government. I'm not saying that there aren't psychos in the world that are going to do killings. What I'm saying is, what the right wing does is take advantage of those psychos. They turn those psychos and they direct them. They say, oh, you want to kill somebody? You want to get violent? You want to grab your gun? I'm going to show you what you should do with your gun. You should aim it at these guys. That's how they create psychotic, hate-seeking missiles.
New sponsor at the Young Turks,
Squarespace. They help you build websites. They've got 24/7 support, and they've built some of the largest websites in the world.
They have an iPhone app, so you can edit your website on the go.
TYT promo code, 10% off for the life of your order.
Squarespace.